I come to you from the heart of America. And the home of Unity Village, the mecca of our movement. And if you haven't been to Unity Village, please give yourself that great opportunity. It is wonderful to know the history from which we've come. It is powerful to see the years and the amount of lives that have been awakened through this movement. And I find it so important to feel like a channel of this movement. And so it was something about going to the village will really help you to know, oh my gosh, I'm part of a big deal. It's a great affirmation. I'm part of a big deal. We can say that together. I'm part of a big deal. Yes, and you are, you are. I'm really in this moment a little blown away by the divine order of things. That is my favorite song. And if I was to have orchestrated a song to be sung, it would have been that song. And I would use that song if I were brave on so many changes in my life. I'm going to stand up to Janice Stanfield very well, and it is a remarkable song. And I'm just reminded all the time of how little I have to worry about things, how little I have to control things, that somehow this whole universe operates without my having to do every detail. It's remarkable, and it blows me away every time, and it gives me such a great feeling of God loves me. I am part of this experience of life working out. And that's what we're going to talk about today, because I don't know about you, but I need to be reminded of that truth over and over and over again. So the title of my talk is, How Would You Live If You Knew You Had Nothing to Hide? How would you live if you knew you had nothing to hide? And even when I say that, I know that the challenge can be, how am I hiding? I don't feel like I'm hiding. I showed up here and walk around and I tell people my name and I talk about myself. So how do we hide? We hide in these masks and disguises of what we've learned about ourselves. Before we had a place to discern, I don't really agree with that. And so it is a place of, you've heard about that frog in the warm water that's kind of comfortable in the warm water? And then the heat keeps going up, and it's like, well, okay, it's a little warmer in here. And he's become so used to just being in that sense of, I guess this is how life is. Pretty soon, he's cooked. And that's often how we can feel in life, is that there's these stories I have about myself that I've been raised with, that were from my family, my religion, my culture. And before I had a way of saying, I don't think I am a sinner. I don't think that I believe that. I don't think that if I have a passion about something, it's stupid because it doesn't make any money. Right? And so because we started to believe these things, I don't believe I can say what I want if you may not agree with me. That's a big one, right? You end up being pretty quiet if you have that story. So we hide out like the frog in the water, and pretty soon people will ask you, what do you love in life? And tell me about who you are, and what is your bliss, and what is your dream? And you'll say, I don't know. Nobody ever asked me. And it's a really crazy way to live when we are born in the image and likeness of all that is, and you are the way the world is waking up, and you are the new expression of how God is speaking by being you, and you don't feel good about who you are. What a bummer. How does this world wake up? How do we do this thing? We wonder why we have so many challenges of people in conflict. Because we have rarely been taught this place that the answers are within us. So we're here to talk about it. We're here to be with it. My show, Let's Get Naked, I can tell you, it wasn't so popular in Kansas City. And I got it came to me on Maui, all right? They were on a beach, okay? It was the Clothing Optional Beach. And I noticed that the idea of our lives, the metaphor of this experience, is that we cover up. And as a therapist for so many years, I really saw, before I went into ministry, that this was what the story is. People would come in and tell me these stories about themselves and their life, and on and on and on, and I thought, I don't believe that about you. I know there's there's something so much more to your life than that story. I know it, and I would love it if you knew it. So, how would I live if I had nothing to hide? All right? Okay. So, my affirmation that we'll be with today is, my life is not a problem to be solved, it's an adventure to be lived. My life is not a problem to be solved, it's an adventure to be lived. And now we'll say it together. You guys are like advanced. and you don't have to do that. You don't have to do the hand signals, but if you want to. Okay, my life is not a problem to be solved, it's an adventure to be lived. Right? Yes, and so maybe you never heard that. That might not have been your religious training or your family upbringing or your culture. And we just know that that wasn't their upbringing, right? No one's to blame, but there was a lot of toxic stuff going on, you know, in families and in religions and in cultures and in educational systems. So we don't blame it, but we really want to see it. Because what you can't see, you can't heal. So my life is not a problem to be solved, it's an adventure to be lived. Now, one thing that we must have in life are mentors and people that we see are living transparently. And one of my mentors in life is, of course, one of the many people I've met at Unity Churches, Alan Cohen, who's an author that lives on Maui. I don't know if you've all heard of him, but I'd like to read an article that he wrote, and we'll see if you can relate to this story. One moment, please. Okay. He lives on Maui. In fact, he was part of the reason I moved to Maui, because when I visited Maui, I had that feeling like maybe you've had a few times, I want to live here, I want to be here, and then the next thought was, I can't do this. It's too expensive. I can't do it. You know, it's too far away. And then I noticed there's a lot of people living there. My age. And then, so Alan said, and I had a wedding business at the time, and I was doing a lot of things with Unity, and I had a spiritual counseling practice. And Alan said, and I said, I really love doing weddings, and I love counseling, and I love to be part of Unity here. So he said, let me show you something. And he took me to the top of the Kapalua Beach, which is a beautiful beach in the, y'all are really close to Maui. Anyway, we looked down and there were 6 little white dots, which were 6 people getting married. And he said, I think you could make a living here if you wanted to. And it sort of busted my story, right, of how I couldn't. It was impossible. It's too expensive. And it's too far away. And you know, and who gets to be this happy? You know, I mean, happy for me kind of felt like a little sacrilegious, you know, we're serious at church. Oh. So Alan has been one of my major mentors because he helped me move from fear to faith. And we don't do this by somebody telling us or blaming us or criticizing us. We do it because people help to listen to our inspiration and fan that flame. All right? So he writes a lot of things. And so he says, one of my great delights is swimming all natural in the mountain pools near my home. Amidst the hidden folds of majestic green valleys, thousands of sparkling waterfalls spill into crystalline pools. Not long ago, a friend and I set out for a day of play in the pools. Soon after we arrived, a few more people showed up. I should probably put my bathing suit on, I thought. These people might find my nudity offensive. The thought was followed by a staunch, but I was here first. Besides, most people are used to nude swimming here. I'll just carry on as I am and trust that everyone will be fine. A little while later, a family arrived. Now I really should put my suit on, I thought. The family may be uncomfortable with me and my friend being naked. But we were here first, I thought. And kids usually go naked anyway. I'll just let everyone be big enough to be okay with it. Half an hour later, a tour group arrived. Off the minivan, the Japanese rolled, with the camcorders rolling. Now I really better get dressed. I figured. Then I thought, if they don't like it, that's their problem. I reasoned, besides, I was here first. So went the day. No one else removed their suits. But everyone seemed fine with us being naked. and we all enjoyed ourselves. The visitors came and went, and when my friend and I were ready to leave, we calmly got dressed and made our way down the path. As I left, a deep sense of peace pervaded my being, along with new illumination. This, I recognized, is the key to living freely. Do you have the courage to swim naked even when others are wearing their suits? The idea, of course, is a metaphor. I'm sure you're very relieved. I am not referring simply to being physically naked. It is infinitely more important that you be spiritually naked. To be who you are, whatever you are, wherever you are, and act from a sense of inner vitality rather than social accommodation. Wow. So let's pass along the applause. And so, how do we feel about being naked, about not hiding? And as we said, the trick of living authentically and living transparently is that we judge ourselves through the eyes of others. And that is really a problem, because how do other people perceive the world? I don't know. I'm not in their head, but I can certainly I'm sure he thinks this. Have you ever heard yourself say that? If we're talking insanity, that's insanity, right? I am sure I know how you feel. It's amazing. I was just in a 7-day silent retreat at Spirit Rock. It's one of my meccas in the world. And I was very interested in the people that were speaking, because they're the Dharma teachers that are teaching. And most of us are out there, we're listening with our eyes closed. And I'm thinking, these people have to feel so confident. If I was talking to a group of people that are like this, I would feel so insecure. I'm like, man, these people have some confidence. But it's the naked living is really not about what I'm perceiving that you're thinking. It's how I'm feeling. It's how inspired I'm feeling about my own life. So is my life a problem to be solved or an adventure to be lived? And let's talk about what happens when we're in the problem. What does it look like in the problem? Because we've just been trained. Everything you turn to, and every time you'll hear something, there seems to be often something wrong. So let's look at what that would feel like. You've learned these things about, not risking, not trying. Okay, let's see if you all can finish these sentences. Just to see if you maybe got a little of the information I had. Better safe than sorry. Never talk to strangers. Right. Let's see another really lively one. Let's see here. Let's see. Don't talk to strangers. They're safe than sorry, and money doesn't grow on trees. Although it does, if you think about it. See, but it was all this lack and all this watch out and don't, it's not safe out there and people are strangers and okay, great. So I'm supposed to live this authentic life. How do I do that? So the problem has become just a habit. It's become a really bad habit. And so if we're living in the sense of a problem, we may hear ourselves say, I'd love to tell somebody how I feel, but I'm scared of being rejected. I may want to leave my job because I'm really unhappy, but I'm afraid there's not another one out there. I'd really love to have this adventure of going on a trip, but I'm afraid that I'll use the money that I could use for something that I don't like so much, right? An emergency, like live your life. Right, and so I'd love to make a new friend or even come to a unity church, but God has been a big problem for me in my life. So there's no nice way to say this. You gotta get rid of your butt. Right? The one T butt, that is. And on my radio show, Let's Get Naked, I have a song by a friend named Terry Wilder, who and her lyrics are, I gotta get rid of my butt. It's bigger than it would appear. It hinders my forward movement when I keep bringing out the rear. And you get it though, don't you? I mean, she's so clever because it really is the idea of, I have this great idea, but, and all the ways it can't work. So that way you have the adventure, but I'm going to live in the problem. all right? So we get to laugh about this, because can anyone not relate to this? So this is everyone's story, and we get to play with it. We don't get to be stuck in it, because nothing is staying the same. You know, we are newness happening all the time, so we just get used to the adventure that is life. Okay, so when I look at the problem, I see we kind of have two. There's my girlfriend. All right, anyway, I talked about mentors. This woman is my mentor. Oh, I'm so happy you're here. Connie Markoff. New member. First day, new member. Anyway, so I find in the area of problems, we have the addicts and we have the accolades. And I know a lot about the addiction people, because I was one of them. And now I get addicted to passion, so that's okay. But I was one of those people that if you had a problem, you had a drink. Seemed to work for me. But then I had a lot of problems, so I had a lot of drinks. And then I had a lot more problems because I had a lot of drinks, and so then I had to have more drinks. And you know, you can see that it wasn't really working out so well. And I was surrounded by people that drank. You know, my family is a bunch of social drinkers, and a lot of you know, my teenage years, that was what was going on. And so drinking felt like a solution, and I didn't know how one would live not drinking. I had no information. And in a way, when we talk about adventure, you may say, my life hasn't felt like an adventure. I don't know how to go there. So I'm inviting you to just play with this idea. All right, so the world, you're creating the image and likeness of God. You're making the world wake up as you wake up. So the world cannot wake up without you. And then I always want to say, no pressure. But if you don't wake up, we all stay stuck, which is really a bummer, as I said. So the world really wanted me to wake up. I didn't know that I was asleep. I thought this was how people lived. And so I started getting arrested.